Let's return to that story Ollie was discussing there, which is the major speech from President Obama on the situation in the Middle East, and in particular his endorsement that of the 1967 borders for the two states, a Jewish state of Israel and a Palestinian state for the Palestinians. This is what he had to say.
We believe the borders of Israel and Palestine should be based on the 1967 lines with mutually agreed swaps, so that secure and recognized borders are established for both states. The Palestinian people must have the right to govern themselves and reach their full potential in a sovereign and contiguous state.
Well, Nabila Ramdani is a Middle East commentator. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's start with his comments on the peace process and particularly what he had to say there about the 1967 borders. How significant was that for an American president?
Well, it wasn't very different from what other American presidents had to say about the Middle East peace process. There was nothing revolutionary about it. But I think President Obama made it a point, and he said on repeated occasions that he would seek a just solution for the Middle East. And by putting forward the idea that he supports the two-state solution, he's very much in line with countries like France and indeed Britain. Prime Minister David Cameron supports the idea as well. And President of France has also said on many occasions recently that he supported the creation of a Palestinian state. And President Obama is due to visit France and the UK next week. And of course, it will show that their position is very much in line as far as the Middle East peace process is concerned.
Indeed. Sorry for interrupting you. I just wanted to say, of course, before he makes that particular trip, he is having these meetings with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has already rejected the suggestions that President Obama has made in his speech. Do you think that the background climate of the Arab Spring and the changes in Egypt and so on and so forth, does that make any sort of compromise from Israel more likely or less likely in terms of getting the peace process going again?
Well, I think the whole context of the Arab Spring makes any compromise with Israel less likely. What the Arab Spring shows is that it defeats the consistent idea, the consistent policy of the American administration for decades now, which consistently funded, supported, and armed some of the region's most repressive governments. And we have seen how the Obama administration itself has been reluctant to support pro-democracy movements in Tunisia and in Egypt when the revolution started. So the Obama administration is already in the process of rewriting history, saying that they were encouraging and supportive of pro-democracy movements. Well, we didn't see that kind of support in Tunisia and Egypt until the very last moment. And let's not forget that the reaction to other pro-democracy movements in the region, like in Bahrain, but also in Syria, for example, and in Yemen, have been non-existent. Instead, we've seen cautious warnings about different regimes asking the dictators in those respective countries to be more to stop the crackdown, but stopping short of calling for them to go, for example. So we've seen how the Obama administration response to the Arab Spring was very much of a disappointment, in fact. And the American policy over decades was, in fact, to surround Israel with autocrats in order to ensure Israel's protection,
Sure.
Paradoxically.
Do you get a sense from this speech, though, that we're seeing a repositioning of all of that, that the wrong footing, if you like, of the Obama administration in the early days of the Arab Spring is something that the administration regrets in a sense, and that in this speech what he's trying to do is say, OK, look, we are now on the side of democracy in the Middle East, and we were wrong not to be in the first place?
Well, that's very much the impression that he wants to give, but this speech was a formidable opportunity for President Obama to reassess and reorient U.S. policy in the Middle East. And instead of doing that in a genuine fashion, President Obama articulated platitudes about America's commitment to democracy. As I said, we've seen that there was a huge discrepancy between American ideals and, indeed, American actions, especially in the context of the Arab Spring.
OK, thank you very much for talking to us this morning. That was Nabila Ramdani, who's a Middle East commentator.